Did you like the Lego show?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Okay, now, since a lot of people didn't do the homework, I think there's going to be a lot of questions there.
He's not gonna, he doesn't know my birthday though.
Whoa!
I wrote him, wait, I wrote him like a really nice card. Like it was like one of the ones.
Hey, oh! Last day next week. Ultra Maxi quiz. 40-point quiz right there, double quiz.
Right before winter break? What?
Yeah, because you don't want homework, right?
Thank you.
Anyway, the administration recommends, in fact, they said,
So is homework due that day, you mean?
I'm gonna write.
wait, I don't want to disrupt you from looking at the comic books over there. What's going on in this world?
It's Monopool.
She's
hungry.
By the way, do you know the public university band educational system wrote a song about Manipur?
Sing it.
No,
Just one line.
no,
Is it inappropriate?
it's pretty inappropriate.
Just sing one
More
line.
inappropriate than pubes?
No, I can't.
Come on!
You know
Oh my
you're
God,
gonna
come on,
regret it.
you
You're
played
gonna
the game.
regret it.
I can't.
You're off the record.
You're gonna regret it.
I'm on the record
Come
always.
on! Play a game.
Yeah, just think of those lyrics and it just brings
Just
back
write it out and say, oh, he is on the
days
record.
when you don't even have to worry about anything.
He's on video.
But now you gotta worry about, oh, is the student gonna like put you on their phone or something, right?
We're not gonna put you on your phone, look.
Just like I was dancing at a Loa Stadium and
Have a
somebody
small video.
Somebody took a picture of that.
When he was, you know,
Just
when
because
he
I was dressed as a transvestite.
Okay. I have a video. of
Okay,
him.
now is the time to ask questions. Did I start the video?
She said
Wait, I
yes.
better check.
Aw.
Can you just give us some answers for everyone?
No, I'm not.
Because they're easy.
I'm going to check them.
Like a weird joke that he does, and then like he immediately regresses.
I don't know
Yes, the video is on. Okay, first question. 17.
Actually, wait, it's only one. That's
18.
one.
Good.
I'm 17.
Listening the entire year, and every time somebody says something.
Number
But
6.
18 is even.
I know,
Show
that's
the
what I
whole
was
list today.
thinking. I'll even.
Okay, 17 and 18 are like the same
Okay,
thing.
18.
Okay, good. 18. Now, they give it to you in a table instead of a graph. That's why we did that thing yesterday. I showed you guys how to read the table.
I didn't know.
Good thing you came in for help.
I have to study for biology.
You don't have to do anything. Everything you do in life is optional. Everything.
Ross Cruz.
Of course it is. Okay, number 18. You are a good to find out how long this particular total. Okay, did you guys read the problem? I just read it. They're giving you time versus velocity now. Again, if you know the if this is velocity, whatever it looks like, what does this area represent?
Position.
The distance traveled. So what we are doing in this problem is, if you can compute this exact area, that's the exact distance that you traveled. But we can't get it exactly yet. Okay? So what we do is we're gonna break it up into rectangles, and what they want you to do is they want you to do LRAM, RRAM, and then average them, that's a good technique actually. So they want you to do LRAM, which means you use the left endpoint to cap off the rectangles. Except I'm not doing it right. And then you do RRAM, and then average. Okay, now open your book and look at the table. It's on page 275. Take a picture of her picture. I'm just joking. Wait, I'm gonna give you a good grade. No, I'm just joking.
Still late.
Okay, so this is what they have. They have 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, all the way until you hit 120. Okay? So, what is the base of each rectangle here? 10. So, if each one is 10, why not factor it out already? Factor out the 10, because we're going base times height, right? And then to do the LRAM, you just use the left endpoint. So, if you look at the chart, the first y coordinate is 0, and the next one is 44 over there. Which one do I use? 0. The one on the left, which is a 0. So if you keep doing that, you're going to get 0 plus 44 plus 15 plus 35 plus 30 plus 44 plus 35 plus 15 plus 22 plus 35 plus 44 plus 30.
Plus 35.
No! We're using the left endpoint.
Sorry. I'm just reading.
Okay, now, to do the right endpoint, is the width of each rectangle still 10? Yeah, so you factor that out. And then now, for the right endpoint, do I use this y coordinate or that one?
44.
The one on the right. Instead of 0 now, you use the one on the right, which is 44. So you start 44 plus 15. In fact, why don't I just look at what I just wrote here? 35 plus 30 plus 44 plus 35 plus 15 plus 35. There. So what they want you to do, so this will give you an estimate of the distance traveled using the left endpoint. This is an estimate of the distance traveled using the right endpoint. They just want you to take the average. So can you guys add these two and divide by 2?
Should be shy.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go any further. Now, I will let you use the calculator because I know some of you 44 plus 15 is hopeless already.
And then you divide by 12.
Take the average.
Mr. Parker,
Wait, you know how to find the average of two things? Add
Oh,
and divide by
these
2.
two
Yeah,
combined.
yeah.
Oh, I thought
So
we
just
were-
add these two and divide by 2.
Do you want to be in my picture?
No.
You're in the way.
Wait. Perfect, thank you. Developing a nice collection.
Next, I'm sure there's more questions, people.
I mean,
Number 2.
for the game.
No, no.
What is the answer?
You don't have to
Is it
simplify
18?
I don't think I even get assigned that problem.
You
Yeah,
did.
you did.
I don't know why.
But I was confused.
Oh, number 2. Okay, number 2 says, a particle starts at x equals 0 and moves along the x-axis with velocity. You gotta be kidding me! You're just asking that because it's even. I hate you. Okay, here is the graph of v equals 2t plus 1. Where is the particle at t equal 4? Okay, here's 4. Now,
Oh, okay.
in fact, this ties in with today's lesson right here. If you know the graph of the velocity, which is just a line, this area tells you the distance that you traveled. Can we compute that area right there? Yes, because it's a simple geometric figure. It's a trapezoid. Now, do you want to do trapezoid, or do you want to break it up into a rectangle and a triangle?
Break it up.
Trapezoid.
Rectangle.
Break it up.
Okay, so what if we're going to break this up into a rectangle? Okay, we know this is 4. We need to figure out what this is. How do I do that?
Plug it in. 0.
Yeah, when x is 0, isn't the y-coordinate 1 there? So isn't that 1? Isn't that 1 then?
Yes.
Okay, now how do I figure out the y-coordinate up here? Well, you plug in 4 and you get 9. So this is the point 4 comma 9. And if this is 1, then isn't that 8? Okay, obviously this is not drawn to scale then, yeah? Okay, so if this is 4 here. What is the area of the shaded region? Well, the area of this is 4 times 1, which is 4, and the area of a triangle is 1/2 4 times 8, which is 16, so the distance traveled is 20. That's how
Do you want to be in my picture?
No.
Why?
Next.
I gotta go sideways. So
3.
No, you cannot ask if you didn't try it.
I did, look.
I tried 3,
I
I
did
didn't
it.
know how.
What's the answer? Oh wait, it's in the back.
But I didn't get it.
They're asking you to, they even tell you how to do it.
Not really. Wait, Miss.
No, but you said
Are
LRAM 8 and
four?
RRAM
Yeah.
6 and MRAM 4.
Yeah, exactly. You have to follow my directions.
Yeah, that's what was confusing.
Okay,
No,
I
that's
thought
only-
you were
that's
only-
It's like bad fractions.
That's only number 10 you use those
What?
directions
What?
for. Look,
No!
it says 10 parentheses.
I thought it was
Yeah,
up
you-
through 10. It was 2
No.
through 10. You said
No.
in class.
No, only number 10 you use those directions.
That's why I don't do my homework the first day. It's a sign.
Look, I had a 400 SAT verbal, and I know the placement of the comma means something.
You told her to call it.
Oh my.
What?
I asked
No,
No,
her-
he told us listen to you.
Yeah, I said, do I do
Kai, I
it
told you
that?
the
And
wrong
then you're like,
thing.
Yeah, follow what the direction says. It says,
everything.
see look, you do 2, 3, 5, 6, and then comma, number 10, parentheses,
Understood
that
your part.
returns to number
In
10.
class, you said user instructions.
Look, even Simon understood.
You didn't.
Whatever that means. Okay, do we still need
So
to do
do I have to
number 2?
redo it now?
No, can we do
Ouch.
Okay, 3.
Sorry, buddy.
No.
I lost.
Hey, did you guys notice this is the same equation as the example I did yesterday?
No.
Of course not. Remember I did y equal x squared plus 1 as the example on the board yesterday?
Yeah, but your domain was 0 to like 5.
Yeah, but this one is 0 to 4. Right? No, we're doing number 3. Oh, where's the particle at t equal 4? Now it says approximate the area using 4 rectangles determined by the midpoint. Okay, here we go. Here's the graph.
See, that would have been easier. I did for all three
Here's
of them.
4. Now, what they want you to do is divide this into 4 rectangles. Okay? But they want you to use the midpoint. So, we have to find the midpoint over there and cap off the rectangle. Ka-ching! 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 Okay, now, would you agree that the base of each rectangle is 1?
Yes.
So you can factor that out, right? Because it's all base times height, okay? Okay, now, how do you, if this is the equation, wouldn't the y-coordinate of that point tell you the height? So, using the midpoint, what's halfway between 0 and 1? 1/2. So when t is a half, how do you figure out the y-coordinate, or the v-coordinate in this case? Plug it in. What is 1/4 plus 1? 5/4. Go to the next row. We factored out the 1. Go to the next rectangle. What's halfway between 1 and 2? 3/2. How do I figure out the y-coordinate there? You plug it in. What is 3/2 squared? 9/4 plus 1? 13/4. Next one. What's halfway between 2 and 3? 5/2. How do I figure out the y-coordinate there? You plug it in. Okay, 5/2 squared is 25/4 plus 4/4, 29/4. So what are you saying?
No, like when
What are you saying?
When you think
You know it's so mean when you say
Oh,
something about somebody's physical appearance.
I really like having.
Oh, this is on film forever.
7/2. 7/2. Plug it in. Okay, 7/2 squared. 49/4 plus 4/4 is 53/4. Okay, add up those numbers. That is an estimate of this area. That's what they want you to do. Find an estimate for that area, which is an estimate of the distance traveled.
25.
Okay, there you go. See how every single problem you're making rectangles and you're just adding up the area of rectangles. That's all you're doing.
That's all you have to do?
Yes.
I did for all three of them. And it took me forever, that's why I gave up.
Well, that's because that one, they don't want an
Why do I
estimate.
even
They want
do
the
homework?
exact area in that problem. Park,
If I didn't do my homework, I wouldn't have like worked for nothing.
you're an insult to parks all over the world.
These are different parts.
Okay, any other questions? Now is the time to ask.
No.
Can we play the game now?
Can we do
There's
the
no
ones
way.
We gotta learn.
I second that motion.
Let's just play the game.
I'm willing to sacrifice the lecture.
One of these days, you're gonna get me so angry. I've never been angry in school where I swore. I've never. In my 32 years of teaching,
Mr. Park, I feel like.
So if we make these
it's
swears, is that good or
but
bad?
I feel
It's for
that
you.
if any time in my career, it's gonna be during this
No.
class.
Yeah!
You've been worse than us.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Reese, did you take them as a compliment? I'm like stoking.
So everybody here can do the swimming pool problem? See, this is the problem.
How
You don't do it.
it.
And then when I check your homework while you're taking the
Can
test.
we do it?
If you tried it,
Natalia tried.
who?
Natalia
Oops.
tried.
Volume of
But she
water in
didn't
the
ask.
swimming pool.
Natalia? Who's
What
Natalia?
number is it?
23.
Hiya.
Hayakawa? Did you do number, where's the
But I
swimming
did
pool?
them all wrong
23.
because I just did all LRAM 8, RM 6.
That's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate.
Oh, you did the same thing?
Yeah, I
Because-
did
oh,
you-
3, so
It was unclear.
Look, my eyes might be small, but I can see where the comma is.
Yeah, but we don't know how you
I can see
think.
where the comma is, even by like, oh gosh.
Because you always say,
I've
don't
been
listen to
teased,
the
I've been
book.
teased about my eyes my whole life. Get off my back,
Really?
yeah.
You're like,
Okay, somebody had a question here, Warner?
No, I'm just saying, I did the same thing.
yeah.
This is gonna be a pattern.
The pattern is the ones that don't do the homework.
And in number,
that's your
see,
work.
in number 10, parentheses, use
No, but we
LRAP.
didn't even see the
And then
comma.
it says, do not simplify. You don't even have to compute that answer, just leave it written like this.
Mr. Park, can we do the swimming pool problem as
Okay,
well?
good, because that's gonna be on the next quiz.
Where is that?
I'll do 23 and we're gonna move on already. That's it.
No, where's 23?
It's on page 276.
We didn't have
That was
one.
homework?
That wasn't homework.
Woo, too
It's
bad.
tomorrow's.
Okay,
Where's 23?
does everybody understand? We have a swimming pool is 50 feet long and 30 feet wide. Okay, let this be a lesson, okay? Because those of you who have a swimming pool, or when you guys grow up, you're gonna get a house with a swimming pool, then you're gonna have to figure out how much chlorine to put in the water, right? And that depends on the volume of the water. That's what you pay the poolman for.
Yeah. The Pullman better say.
See, that's what happens. You think everybody is gonna be upper class?
Maybe I'll be a
There's people
Pullman.
like us, middle class and lower class.
But you don't have a pool.
That's right, I don't have a pool.
So you don't even need this
Just
problem.
surprised. Where
So
did you
if you can afford a pool, you should be able to afford a pool pad.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Mr. Park, where do you live?
No way.
I know. I don't know what
We're
it
gonna
is.
build
Funny,
a
huh?
swimming
No
pool.
way.
We're gonna build a swimming
I'm not falling for that one.
How come it's slanted?
It's the deep
Because they
end.
got the shallow end and then the deep end.
You
But
ever
then it
swam
should be like
before?
this.
Okay, now, okay, for those of you who didn't read the problem, can I tell you how, this is how you estimate the volume of a pool.
Nobody read the problem.
Okay, now, you didn't even read the problem.
It's assigned to tonight's homework.
What?
Too bad, too bad.
What?
Do it.
6.2.
What?
We did 6.1.
Oh,
Yeah, we're doing 6.1, we're doing 23.
Also, we're gonna have to start on the quiz then because.
What?
23 was not assigned on last night's homework?
17.
No, that's tomorrow.
No. This is 6.2.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not
no
there.
money.
Wait, it's not there. Okay, you know what? I still want to do it though.
Okay.
Is it on the quiz?
Yes, it's on the quiz.
Send us up.
Okay, now, let me ask you this. What is the geometric shape of this thing? This is called a
Triangle.
prism. And how do you find the volume of a prism? You find the area of this region here, and you times it by
30.
30, right? Like, for example, a cylinder. A cylinder is a prism. How do you find that volume of it? You take the area of this and you times it by the height, right? Just like this. So you find the area of this and you times it by 30. 30 is the height, like if you stand it up on its side. Okay, now, this is an irregular shape. It's very difficult to compute the area, so we can estimate it using rectangles. So what they do, it says every 5 feet, they measure the height of the water. So right here, they measure the height of the water, like with a gigantic stick. Yeah. Anyway, so it says that's 6 feet right there. Then they walk 5 feet this way, and they measure the height again, and then it's 8.2 feet. Then you walk another 5 feet, and you measure it 9.1. And you keep on doing that until you hit at the very end, what? What does it say? 13.0 feet. Ah, so ugly. 13.0. Can we estimate? Yeah, we just make rectangles. Like that. Just like we've been doing in this homework. So, would you agree that the base of each rectangle here is 5? Because remember, you're walking 5 feet and then you're measuring. So 5. Okay, factor out the 5. Okay, what's the height of the first rectangle? Now, what does it say? To use the left or the right? Oh, they want you to do both left and right. Okay, so if I'm using the left hand point, what? 6 plus 8.2 plus 9 point. I'm just going to read it off the chart over here. 9.1 plus 9.9. Some of you going, we don't even have to do this. I'm not going to listen early.
You're gonna give us a chart of the quiz?
Of course I'm going to give you a chart. Otherwise, how are you going to do it? Okay, there you go. That's using the left end point. Now let's start at the right end point. So using the right end point going to be 8.2 plus 9.1 plus 9.9 plus 10.5. Oh, just plus 11.0 plus 11.5 plus 11.9 plus 12.3 plus 12.7 plus 13.0. Bam! And if you were smart, what would you do with these two? Take the average of them. And then, so you take the average of these two. How would you take the average? Add them up, divide by 2, multiply by 30, and that will give you the volume of this pool. And then now you can figure out how much chlorine to put in. But then some of you just can pour in the whole box anyway, right? That looks about right, and then you one run every. So itchy, man. Oh, my skin is all red.
Can we fire the pool man?
So I know what you're thinking. If I can afford a pool, I can afford a pool man. That's so. What do you call
Right.
that?
Fat.
Economist.
What?
What?
Wait, what is the number? What is the number?
Economics?
23.
You're so.
Oh, this.
30.
Anyway, you have to be able to read things off a chart. That's the purpose of this whole thing. Okay, today we go on to 6.2.
Wait, don't erase too much. Yes. I'm not busy.
All right. Okay, now the title of 6.2 is called the definite integral, which is, we talked about this yesterday. Okay, so yesterday I actually told you what an integral is, right? But now you're responsible for it. This is an integral, the integral of f of x dx from a to b. This is called a definite integral. Whereas if you have an integral like this is called an indefinite integral. What's the difference between the two?
A and B.
Yeah, this one has limits of integration and this one doesn't. So if you don't have the limits over here, we call that an indefinite integral. That's for later down the road. But tonight's homework, you get a definite integral. Now what did I tell you yesterday? What does an integral tell you? The area between the graph and the x-axis. So if this is the x-axis and you have a function, it can be any function from a to b, okay? Y equal f of x. This integral represents this area exactly. Now, like I told you yesterday, in a couple days, we're going to learn how to compute it exactly without a calculator. Right now, all we can do is make rectangles. Okay, but this is the theory behind computing a definite integral. Okay? So what we do is we're going to break it up into rectangles of infinitesimal width. Okay? Like last night, what was the width of the rectangle? 5, sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2. But we're going to make the width of the rectangle infinitesimally small. You know what we call that? We call it dx. Now, are you familiar with, okay, when you take science, if this is 2 and this is 5, what is delta x? What is the change in x?
3.
3, right? But when you make it infinitesimally small, like that, infinitesimally small, we don't call it delta x, we call it dx. Just get used to this notation. Okay? Now, this rectangle is so infinitesimally thin that to compute the height, it doesn't even matter whether you're using the left endpoint, the right endpoint, the midpoint, or any point in between. It doesn't matter because it's so thin anyway. So, what would you consider the height of this rectangle to be then?
F of dx.
No, just f of x, right? Remember? Doesn't the y coordinate of that point tell you how high to go up? Isn't f of x the y coordinate? So when you see an integral, you can't just think of the whole thing, you gotta think of the pieces. So this represents the height of the rectangle because it's the y coordinate. The y coordinate tells you how much to go up. This dx tells you what the width of the rectangle is. It's an infinitesimal width. This integral sign, now do you notice that it looks like the letter S? And they do that on purpose because what we're going to do is this represents the area of this really thin rectangle. Or as Jaime Escalante says in the movie, the strip. He calls this the strip. I just call it an infinitesimally thin rectangle. You add up all of these rectangles, that's what S means, add them all up from A to B. So what you're doing theoretically is you're adding up an infinite number of these rectangles like this. You add up the area of all of those rectangles, don't you get the whole area? And that's what an integral is. It's an infinite sum. It adds up an infinite number of things. And later on, you're going to learn that it's not just an infinite number of rectangles, and then we're going to add, later on, we're going to add up an infinite number of discs or washers, three-dimensional things. Okay, but we start here. Just add up an infinite number of rectangles. So whenever you see a definite integral, that's how you got to think. This is the height, this is the width, this is the area of an infinitesimally thin rectangle. Then you add up all of these rectangles from here to here. Now, tonight's homework is even easier than that.
That's what you said
Tell me
last
more.
I
time.
still want to do it.
Well, if you actually do it, it's pretty easy.
No, I did do it last time.
Okay, so here. So tonight's homework, you're actually going to have to compute integrals. Okay, here. Compute. Let's start easy. What is the integral from 0 to 4 of x dx? Okay, now what does an integral represent again? The area between the graph and the x-axis. Do we know how to graph y equal x? Okay. Here's the graph of y equal x. From 0 to 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
0. No, so
Right there.
Let's just say it's 8. Call it a day.
Can I compute that area exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a straight line, man. This is a triangle. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. How did I know the height was 4?
Oh my god. Same thing.
Because the slope of the line is 1. So if you go 4 that way, you gotta go 4 that way, right? Anyway, so what's 1/2 4 times 4? 8. Bam! That's how you do tonight's homework. Oh, so Mr. Park, in order to do tonight's homework then, I have to be able to draw the graph. Yes, you have to be able to draw graphs of tonight's homework. And now all the base graphs that we did before are gonna come up.
The
Okay.
graphs have to be on the homework?
What if it's curvy?
Can
Can't they just look at the back? Simon, is that what you're thinking? No, you're not gonna get any curvy things.
Can we use our calculator?
Then why don't we
No.
do base graph?
Okay, yes, okay. Some of the problems tonight, they're gonna tell you to use the graphic calculator. Now, if you looked at your book, if you worked ahead, you're gonna see this. Your book is gonna say, use this to compute the area.
Nintendo.
No, this stands for numeric integral. That means your graphic calculator. So whenever you see this, remember how I taught you to do the graphic calculator yesterday? That's because every school uses different calculators. Our school just happens to use the Casio Prism. But other
Still a
schools, they use
calculator.
the TI-84. Some
Okay, use your
schools
calculator.
use the, what's the HP, whatever, 3200i.
Wait, how do you
I
do
just
it?
made up that number, I don't know
Mr.
what it's
Park,
called.
how do you do it if it's like
You can't. It has to be something that, you know, has to be a geometric figure, you know.
The most base graph.
Okay, I'm ready to do more. The integral from -2 to 4 of x. So you guys think you're good already. Some of you like Park thinking, I got it already.
Park always thinking.
Hey, Mr. Park, this is the same graph, y equal x. I like that. Except now you gotta go from -2 to 4. So remember, an integral gives you the area between the graph and the x-axis. Now, this is where if you didn't read the book, you might get in trouble. Do I know how to compute this area? Duh, it's the same as that one, it's 8. What's the area here? 1/2, 2 times 2 is 2. Therefore, the answer is
6.
80. Very good.
I know.
How did you know it was 6?
I was
Because a lot of people would say 10.
Subtracted.
No, yeah, well, if the graph is below the x-axis, it counts negative. The integral is negative. And that's an important distinction to make now. Area cannot be negatives. If somebody were to ask you, what's the area of this triangle? It's 8. If somebody were to ask you, what's the area of this triangle? It's 2. However, if somebody asks you, what is the value of this integral here, from -2 to 0, your answer would be -2, because the graph is below the x-axis. You see the distinction? Area cannot be negative. However, an integral can be negative, if more of the area is below the x-axis.
Do you want to be in my picture, Mr.
No. Okay, are we ready to kick it up a notch? Do you think all the graphs are going to be like y equal x tonight? They're not.
5.
Curvy.
Two.
Absolute value x?
Integral,
Game.
absolute value of x plus 1 minus 1
Oh my god.
dx from -2 to 2. Okay, so the first thing you gotta do is you gotta be able to draw the graph.
Oh my god.
Okay, now, what is the base graph here?
Yeah.
Y equals absolute value of x, which is the v, right, like this. Except I gotta shift it 1 left and
Down.
1 down. So I have to shift it 1 left and 1 down, so the graph looks like this.
I feel like you're like a pig in another life.
That's as happy as a pig in a slide.
We're on the same level.
That was
So from -2 to 2, we need. We need.
Swear, Mr. Park, swear.
Oh my god. Swear, let it out.
Just release
In my
your
mind, there's all these
anger.
bad words in my
Mr.
mind.
Park, have you watched
Oh
Inside
yeah,
Out?
like you know, okay.
Mr. Park, have you watched
can't sing
Inside
it,
Out?
No. Okay, what's the area of this triangle?
2.
Lead.
I can't see what the number is. 2 times 2. Wait.
You better make sure that's 2.
Wait, no, I have to check. 3, 2. 2.
That's my. What?
Why?
What is this
I have to
area?
calculate
Warner.
it.
1/2 base times height.
1.
1. Therefore, what is the value of this integral driver?
Oh, 1.
Very good, it's 1, because since this one is below the x-axis, it counts negative.
This is hard.
Easy, we got.
Yeah, you gotta be able to okay, you guys think you're good.
Let's play a
Okay,
game.
no, wait,
Yes.
I think
Jesse.
I'm good.
The next person that says play the game, I'm gonna play the game with your grade. That's what's gonna happen. Cool. For real, that's the only thing that even gets to you. You don't care about like hurting teachers' feelings or
No,
telling them to write a letter of recommendation, but you know what? I'm not going to that school.
I am going.
You guys have no problems with that. But when it's about your grade, oh, I better tread lightly.
We're sorry for hurting your feelings, Mr. Mark.
No, I'm used to it. I'm used
We
to
did
it.
on the phone like that.
I'm used to it already.
Oh, that's sad.
You wanna go out to dinner tonight?
No, you. Okay, somebody tell me what this graph is. Amano, what is this graph? This is a base graph that we learned.
I don't know.
Oh no, Amano.
Wait, I don't think I know.
You.
Semicircle.
Very
Okay,
good. It's a semicircle of radius 2 centered at the origin. You guys don't remember doing this?
That's curves.
Okay, tonight's homework gets several semicircles. You guys got better recognize the semicircle. Okay, so from 0 to 2,
That's curve.
we are, yeah, but it's a circle. It's a basic geometric shape. It's the other ones we gotta worry about.
Oh, it's only.
So all we have, well, from 0 to 2 it says, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so what is the area between the graph and the x-axis from 0 to 2? Well, that's 1/4 of a circle. Well, let's see. How do I find the area of the whole circle? Pi times the radius squared, but then it's only 1/4, so I times it overall. So
Pi.
the answer is pi. Now, if you want to check this on your calculator, remember I showed you to punch it in?
Yes.
I guarantee you punch it in, you know what you can see? 3.141592653589793. Bam.
You should do that walk around.
No, see,
I
you
like
guys.
that Just find it on the video.
Like, what if you walked around campus?
Tread lightly.
Tread lightly.
Tread lightly.
Okay, and then you can, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it now because I'm trying to concentrate here. 4 minus root 16 minus x squared dx from -4 to 4.
Damn.
Now, you're gonna have a problem almost exactly like this, except instead of a 4 and a 16, it's a 2 and a 4 on tonight's homework. Let's hope you can do it now. Do we know how to draw this graph?
Yes.
Because every year I give it on the quiz, and every year I see the wrong graph there. It's crazy.
Yes.
Okay, do we know how to graph that? That's a semicircle of radius 4. Okay. You know what you guys should do? Draw the base graph. Some of you think, oh no, I can do it in my head.
I did it in my head. 16 plus.
Okay, what does that do to the graph? It reflects it over the
Sunrise.
x-axis,
Up 4.
and then you shift it up 4.
Yeah.
So then doesn't the graph look
It's definitely not 16 plus.
Yeah.
That's the graph. You gotta shift it up 4. So this one, shift it up 4. But every single year, you know what I see? I see this. This is what I see. I see this. What the heck is that? That's not the graph. So what does an integral tell you? The area between the graph and the x-axis, which is this.
No!
Oh,
What is that?
Well, come on, this is simple geometry, people. How do you compute this area? Wouldn't it be the area of this rectangle minus the semicircle? This is simple geometry.
Yahtzee.
Okay, so what's the area of the rectangle? 8 times 4, 32, minus the area of a semicircle of radius 4. Now, what's the area of a full circle of radius 4? Pi times the radius squared, but it's a semicircle, so you divide it by 2. Bam! That's your answer. So, all of this hinges on whether you guys can draw the graph. If you cannot draw the graph, you'll be screwed. Now, let me look at your homework tonight. There's one graph that's crazy.
Mr. Martin, we're running out of time to play the game.
We still have 15 minutes, fool. I mean, Blakesley.
Hey, that's what I say.
Fool, that's my word.
No,
Tread
you
lightly.
don't.
Fool.
I was saying-
Wait, shh, I'm trying to concentrate. Nah, you guys can draw that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here.
Who's MJ and KT?
Stop teasing his physical appearance.
Okay, there's a graph that looks like this tonight.
KT sucks.
You know what? I want to do it.
Slacking.
Because I don't want you coming to school tomorrow
KT.
saying I don't know how to graph this. Okay, what does the absolute value of x look like?
The V.
The v, it's like this. What does that minus sign do? It reflects it over the x-axis, and then you gotta shift it up 2. So if you shift it up 2, doesn't the graph look like that?
Yeah.
And then now, once you know the graph, you can compute. Okay, let's do one. What is the? Oh, you guys think you're smart? That's why, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm kind of dumb.
-2 to 4. Yeah, I like that.
Please,
-2 to 4. Here, you want that?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
You like that?
I don't get it.
Yeah, you don't get it. You gotta watch Sports Center to get that. Okay, now here. See, smart people will do. This is what smart people will do. Hey, isn't that area the same as that area? Except that one going to count positive and this one going to count negative. So these going to cancel out then, right?
Sure.
So all that's left is that one, which is above the x-axis. So all you gotta do is figure out the area of that triangle, which is 1/2 2 times 2. 1/2 2 times 2. 2. Thank you. See? Instead of computing each one, you know what I mean? If you have the same area above and the same area below, they cancel out.
May I use the restroom?
No, wait, one last thing.
Oh.
Is it the game?
I don't know whether to swear
You want to
or
laugh.
cry.
He wants to laugh. He wants to laugh.
Okay,
Oh,
without even thinking, wait, let me just, I'm calling somebody.
Fine.
Choi, without just using your brain. What is
Oh,
the answer?
got it.
Choi. Very good. Dig the hole, fill in the hole. Come
What
on,
is
you
that?
can do it in that head.
No, it's.
Why is the answer 0? Because here's the graph of sine x.
Very
That's pi and 2 pi. Isn't this hump congruent to that hump?
Tight.
But this one counts negative, that one counts positive, cancel out, 0.
4 by 16.
Oh, so you guys think you're smart then?
Yes.
Okay, let's see how smart you are.
Yeah.
Okay, let me call on somebody. Who didn't I call on yet? Chang! I'll give you a hint, we did this yesterday.
We did.
Where are you talking?
He told you.
Oh, I remember.
Answer's 2. Remember
We did on a
yesterday?
calculator.
Remember yesterday? No. Remember yesterday we did it on our calculator.
Yeah.
The area under one hump is 2.
I don't understand each one.
We did this
And
yesterday.
then you just subtract it.
No way! It's like a stab in the back.
Wait, can't you do
Wait,
like,
yo, Cohen's
can't
sitting
you
outside.
do like pi?
Oh, Albert Lee's also sitting outside taking like a quiz or something.
Oh, no, please.
Come on.
Hey!
They don't know that checking that Mr. Values.
You know what? Just for that remark, I'm gonna teach you more.
Hooray!
Mr. Why?
Learning.
Why is it 2? Mr. Burke, why is it 2?
We did it on our calculator yesterday, remember?
That's my last one.
Yeah.
But isn't it?
Oh, but remember, you ran over back to your
Going
line, that's
to
why.
How about I got 2? No, I was the one that said 2.
That's all,
Please.
okay, last thing, and we can play the game.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, do we know how to draw this graph?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a parabola,
Down.
4 up, and then opening downward, x-intercepts, -2 and 2. What?
Oh, because
Oh, is that low?
out loud. Okay.
Hey, you gotta watch the video.
You? What did you say? Oh, no, I got the video, I'm gonna play it back.
It wasn't loud
What
enough
did
for the
you say?
video.
Peace and quiet for 2 minutes.
What does that mean? What is that supposed
Who
to
just
mean?
left?
It means that it'll be
laugh.
quiet.
I should have called in sick. Should have let the teacher teach you.
James.
Oh, what was it? Mr. Minimission.
Shimamoto.
Minimission was in my AB class. She got a 5 on the
The
AB.
Michelin
Who's
Man?
that? Oh,
The other stuff, but of course, 5 years later, does she remember anything? No. Okay,
Aw.
we need to compute this area. Okay, when we compute this area, we start the games. And know that it's not a semicircle, it's a
Mr. Park, you
parabola.
sound mad to me. Or sad.
I wonder
Have you had a rough day?
why would it be sad or mad in this class?
Just like you like us.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a hint. Have you ever heard of the mathematician Archimedes?
Yeah.
Okay, Archimedes is one of the 3 greatest mathematicians of all time. With,
Euler.
okay, no, Archimedes,
Newton.
Sir Isaac Newton,
Clark.
and Carl Gauss. These are the 3 greatest mathematicians of all time. Anyway, Archimedes proved, and Archimedes was a long time ago, right in the times of the Greeks. He actually proved that the area of a parabolic arch is 2/3 base times height. That kind of makes sense because if you had a triangle, it would be 1/2 base times height. So then he said, oh, a little bit more, 2/3. No, he
I could have done
he
that.
actually proved it. That's so stupid. Okay, so what's the answer?
Mr. Park, wake up.
Oh, that's, I wish I could have seen myself. That was pretty funny.
You can. You can.
Oh, that was, where do I come up with that? It's so funny.
Please tell me what happened.
Oh! Watch the video.
It's time.
So
We're running out of time. It's 32
so
and
glad
3.
you decided
That's pretty hilarious.
Mr. Park,
A little bit more, 2/3. That could be the funniest joke I've ever done.
Everyone's sore.
You know, maybe it's not that funny. But maybe it really seems really funny because you just mentally tortured me the last 2 quarters. Okay, so does somebody have the answer? Blakesley, you wanted to answer questions.
2/3, 4 times
Base times height.
1, 2, 4.
Okay.
Okay. so
Final
that's gonna
answer?
be 16 times 2.
32 over
32
3.
over 3.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Let's play a game.
No, for real. If you're in math competitions,
I thought it was
what
bad.
joke was it? What was it?
hey, if you're gonna go to the bathroom and you want to miss class, then that's you take the chances.
Wasn't it like a math joke?
Yeah, it was.